sure we're recording. And I'm going to make you the host again. Let's make sure that it will.
That's recording.
That will continue to record if I give you. Okay. Take it away.
Okay, great. All right. Well, as people continue to come in, we've had a lot of people RSVP. It's Saturday morning. It takes everybody a little while to get their coffee and get their kids where they need to go and their animals where they need to go and their spouses where they need to go. And I just want to honor everybody for being here today and taking time out of your busy lives to honor writing and to honor the commitment to be writers and to explore writing. And that's one of the first most important steps to writing, is simply saying, I'm going to take 30 to 40 minutes out of my time to really learn more about what's holding me back, to answer some questions about what is it that you can do first to really start exploring, telling your story, and eventually following the dream of writing a book. So I'm Kim O'Hara, and I'm an intuitive book coach. And I am thrilled to be co-hosting this event. So you want to write a book people actually read, with storytelling consultant and marketing maven Carrie Severson. And Carrie and I are very aligned in the concept that it's wonderful to write a book, even if you're writing an amazing book, but it's better to not wait until the very end when you're done with the book to start marketing yourself. It's really important to start writing articles and writing essays and talking and being out there and building your platform, so when the book's done, you're not just starting from scratch then. You already have your message out there. And so that's really why we're passionate about doing this webinar. Just a little bit about me. As I mentioned, I'm an intuitive book coach. I come from 20 years of making movies and writing movies. So I brought characters to the big screen and realized I wanted to help women specifically and directly. And I also have some male clients, but they're mainly women, to tell their repressed stories, to bring their voices out in words. And self-help and memoir are the areas that I mainly work in. My own book was just published a couple days ago. It's very exciting. I can't tell you how amazing it feels, and that is available on Amazon. Now, Carrie, the amazing Carrie, is a story consultant, and she's a marketing maven for female authors. She has decades of experience. I think she just wrote her 100th keynote speech for someone, for a woman, and she's just amazing at this, getting women out into the mainstream media so that they can build their soul audience. She's deeply intuitive like I am. We connect on a lot of powerful levels about the transformation you can have with story and building your platform. We are committed today to over-delivering in value, and we don't have a ton of time, so I am going to be flying through this stuff. You are going to get a replay, so you can make some notes then on the slides. So just try and ingest what I'm saying and see what it feels like. When I say, how do you know you're a writer? Take a second and check in with yourself. Where do you feel that? Do you feel that in your stomach? Do you feel that in your chest? Do you feel that in your throat? What are those immediate thoughts that come up? Maybe just write one word down really quick. Is it a voice that's not very nice? Is it a questioning voice? And that'll give you an idea of how you feel about that question. How do you know you're a writer? Is that a defensive question? And I'll tell you how you know in these 3 bullet points that I've decided to highlight. There's so many ways to know you're a writer, but I've just picked these 3. You have artistic tendencies, and you have a strong desire to write the book. You're not interested in other people writing your story for you. You're not interested in other people writing your book. And that concept that it's your turn, that scares the crap out of you. You're a writer. You want to write, and you can't stop thinking about that darn book, no matter what. I can tell you hypnosis is not going to work. You've got to write the darn book. You're very passionate about your story. You feel that it can heal and can help people. You intuitively know this. Multiple people say to you, you should write a book. I have people that have come to me that have said, you know what, in the past 4 days, 3 people from totally random places, like the UPS guy, told me to write a book. And I'm done. I have to do this. So there's some good ideas of knowing you're a writer. And the list goes on. then why do we struggle with writing? So what happens then? We know, but why do we struggle? I don't have an idea of what everybody does on this call. I do know that many of you and many of the people that are going to be listening around the globe later in the replay are entrepreneurial. And there is this drive and energy, especially as women, that we have to incorporate to get our businesses going. We're always on the hustle. It's a very masculine energy. While writing a book requires accountability and schedule, it's a feminine energy. And sometimes entrepreneurs make the mistake that they're going to go into writing the book with the same energy that it took to build the business. And they can get very overwhelmed and basically abandon a tool that could be incredibly helpful for their business. Also, you've lived in your story for so long, you've lost complete perspective of what aspects have value. And that's when working with someone like myself and Carrie can help you see the unique parts of your story that absolutely are going to bring value out there to help others. And, you know, there's so many ways to go into procrastination, and I'm going to read a passage from one of my favorite writing books in a second about procrastination, but it is insidious. It takes a million different forms. And when we don't want to write, we will justify it in so many ways. These are two books that I highly recommend to all my clients. The first one's called The War of Art, and it's by Stephen Pressfield. You can get it. And I'm just going to read a really quick passage here about procrastination and resistance. The most pernicious aspect of procrastination is it can become a habit. We don't just put off our lives today. We put them off till our deathbed. Never forget this very moment we can change our lives. There never was a moment and never will be when we are without the power to alter our destiny. This second, we can turn the tables on resistance. This second, we can sit down and do our work. So powerful. And this book is just full of that. And so I highly recommend getting a copy. It's on my desk all the time. I text my clients with passages from it, and it's really profound. This other book, The Elements of Style, is brilliant because it's from like 1951 or something. It's really old. And one half of it tells you about where to put commas and semicolons and, you know, when to use and. Okay, so like sometimes we forget, so it's great to look. But what's beautiful is tucked in the very back of the book, which I just rediscovered 3 weeks ago. And I've had this copy for, I'm not going to age myself, a super long time. In the back, there's this like nuggets of wisdom in this one section called Work from a Suitable Design. And it talks about creating your book. It talks about creating your story and creating your narrative. Before beginning to compose something, gauge the nature and extent of the enterprise and work from a suitable design. Design informs even the simplest structure, whether of brick or steel or of prose. You raise a pub tent from one sort of vision or a cathedral from another. This does not mean that you sit with a blueprint always in front of you, merely that you had best anticipate what you are getting into. To compose a laundry list, a writer can work directly from the pile of soiled garments, ticking them off one by one. But to write a biography, which is what they used to call them, and now they're memoirs and self-help hybrids, the writer will need at least one rough scheme. He cannot plunge in blindly and start ticking off fact after fact about his man, lest he miss the forest for the trees and there be no end to his labors. What that basically is saying is writing a book by yourself doesn't need to happen. There are amazing supports out there, and I'm going to go through some of them that will fit who you are. So there's fear in writing the book, and I'll just tell you really quickly, fear is just your ego trying to keep you small and safe. It's like, heck no. If you start telling people all those stories about you, if you start believing you're going to be an author, that's going to be a problem because we don't know that territory you're going into, and that's super scary. So let's stay small. And when you do start writing, many of the writers that I work with start to feel 10 times better after they get through 1 or 2 chapters because they realize, you know what? Fear is not real. You know, it's false evidence appearing real is what fear is. And then there's time. I don't have time. One of the main reasons why people procrastinate. But I will tell you honestly that when you start writing your book, it's like this amazing vortex that I can't describe. My clients start to see what in their life they don't have to pay attention to anymore, which they thought was important, but it's suddenly not important. And they start to focus on what it is that the book is bringing forward to them in the universe. It sounds a little woo-woo, but I just say if you take the leap and you put in even just a little bit of time, you end up having this incredible amount of new space opening up for you. So how to beat the odds and start writing. You can hire a book coach like myself or Carrie. You can get enrolled in a program that makes you accountable with a deadline. You can identify what kinds of books you're going to write, which I'm going to fly through in the next couple minutes. You're going to tell people you're writing a book, and you're going to go to a writing group or a workshop where you can uncover the root of your story. Because the story that you think you might want to tell might not be the story you're going to tell. And that's why it's amazing to have witnesses for that. So what do you do when you want to start writing a book? Like, I don't know, what do I do? You know, there's the memoir, and I put up 3 that are really great examples here. Eat, Pray, Love is really, you know, a lot of people have read this. It's her romp through life and her realization book. There's Carry On Warrior, which is more like really tell it all, like all of it, you know, in putting it all out there. And Diving Bell and Butterfly was made into a movie, and it's just profound. It's about a man who wasn't really a very nice guy, who had a heart attack, like this whole chronic thing happened to him, and he had to write the whole book with his eyelids. Really amazing. So that's one kind of book. And then there's the self-help book. And the self-help book is like, you've got a program, you've got a system, you've got pointers that you want people to know. You're going to lay it all out for them chapter after chapter. You're going to put a little bit about yourself in there, but not a lot, because, you know, you're really just trying to put enough in there that they can feel that you're an expert on it. But a lot of these books, they don't really even take the time to say I'm an expert. They just so believe in what they have to offer that they roll it out. We have a little disturbance there on the line. Do you want to?
I can't
Can we
do
have
it
everybody mute? Maybe Patty?
I'm not the host.
You know how you mute?
Yep. You have to go over to her little box, and then you'll be able to literally.
I get mute. There we go.
There.
Brilliant. And
Awesome.
if it's not her, then we'll look to see if there's anybody else.
Just remember to mute yourself when you come in, you guys.
Yeah, let me hit. Okay, great. Okay. So how-to books. Oh, hi, Jasmine. I just kind of screened down and I saw that we had some other people here. Good to see you. So in terms of how-to books, these are really just breaking it down. And I love the 5 Love Languages because it's a really successful book that a lot of people go to, and also Getting to Yes is a negotiation book. There's so much to share and so little time. So the self-help memoir is what I do mostly with people. It's a combination of really telling your whole life story, but having a sense of awareness that you're doing this so that others can grow. So you can say, don't make these same mistakes for this long, or don't repress that part of yourself for so long, or look what I went through, so people can relate. And I use, for an example, Rachel Coyle Brooks is one of my clients, and she came to me to write a memoir about being a national bodybuilder and in the bikini division, and that's her on the left. And as we started working together, we discovered that she has a lot to offer people in terms of a new way of women looking at fitness and mind and body. And we started to unpack parts of her story that involved abuse and body dysmorphia and terrible things she went through as a teenager. And so it was a rise and fall story, and then a rise again story, because she's going to go back on the stage in May, and she's going to perform as a healthier, happier, more well-rounded woman. And then she's able to sort of bring that to her book. And there's a lot of publishers that are very interested in this book because it's the only one that's out in the market. So she's a great example. So it's your turn. Don't let your voice be repressed any longer. Don't wait any longer. It's not going to get easier. Time is not going to open up. A bright light is not going to shine from the sky and tell you, today's the day. You just have to make an absolute choice. And now I'm going to turn it over to Carrie who's going to talk about, once you've made that choice and you start writing the book, what you can do while you're writing it to start to build your platform.
Okay, so taking, reclaiming, still recording.
Yay!
Okay, so I checked the chat. So Kim, I'm going to mute you, and let me make sure. It looks like everyone's muted. So here we go. Can you still hear me? Yeah, you can hear me. Okay. All right, you guys. So let us know in the chat so far what book you think you want to write. If you're writing a book, start to tell us the kinds of books that you're writing. And as we shift from content over to the second part of our webinar, which is how to get them to read your book, I'd just like you to take a deep inhale through your nose, please. And exhale as we move into the marketing aspect of this. So my jam is, I am, like Kim said, I am a soul storyteller. I'm a storyteller consultant. I am also an intuitive, and I'm a marketing maven. My background, I have 20 years in the publishing business and magazine business. And I moved from someone who has shared, written for publications, to someone who has pitched them in terms of working for an advertising agency. And then I actually launched a business about 8 years ago. And I started learning how to share my essence and story at that time. So I call them soul stories. So more likely than not, the book that you want to write is a soul story. If you've already written the book, it's probably a soul story. So a soul story is really, it's bits and pieces of our essence. It's the thing that we feel like we're a champion of. It's the part that is deep within our belly, that rises up into our heart, that we have to express. They're life lessons, and they're more likely life lessons that you've had to learn over and over and over again, right? They're most likely not the easiest thing that you came by, but they are an amazing communication tool for you as a business leader, as a storyteller, because people want to hear them. So here is the kind of pitfall that we see authors make, entrepreneurs make, when they move into being an entrepreneur, into an author. So many people want to write a book and then don't start marketing that soul story until the book's out. And then it's like everything is in the book and you're struggling to get it sold, you're struggling to get it read. Here, best advice for how we can move soul stories into smaller pieces, right? So as you're creating your book, which could easily take you 6 months to do, we're taking slices of life from that story. We're recrafting it in absorbable pieces, and we're putting them out in media outlets. We're writing personal essays for online publications. We're putting you out as an expert, out for TV and editors to turn to, so that you get to share your soul story in smaller slices of life along the way. We can turn that soul story into a 15-minute keynote or a 90-minute presentation out for a learning institute in your neighborhood. And you're getting a condensed, really intimate audience that then become champions of your soul story, so that your audience starts to grow while you're behind the scenes working on that book. And then finally, these soul stories should be expressed on your About Me pages of your website, in short videos, for people to start to get to know you even before your book is published. So what is a personal essay? A personal essay is 500 words, typically to about 1,000, but there are some outlets that will let you really go far and kind of bridge that over to about 2,000 words. It's a first-person narrative. It has one lesson, one core emotion, one theme, a powerful positive point of view, and it's published and everyone from like Forbes Entrepreneur to Cosmopolitan to Mind Body Green to She Knows to Huffington Post, editors are craving them. And really, it's not, it started as a trend when Arianna Huffington launched Huffington Post, but it's become a way of life because so many entrepreneurs are now out pitching editors these shorter personal essays, and they're really good. So it is an incredible opportunity for us as leaders to start to get our soul story out in small snippets to grow our audience so that we have people ready to read our book when our book is created and launched. Your job is to match your personal essay to the right platform, and then make sure that you're delivering a soulful essay so that the audience that's reading it wants to go from the essay to your bio, to your website, to your list. And that is something that I've done hundreds of times for clients over the last couple of years. So speech writing. So first of all, to grow your audience, we have personal essays and the funnel that creates, and then we have speech writing and the opportunity that has for you. So my suggestion is while you're behind the scenes writing your book, these are things that you're looking at once a month, a couple times a month maybe, to expand your audience. So speech writing is a little bit different than personal essay writing, and a lot of times we try to fit them both into the same flow, but you're given 15 minutes maybe in a keynote, right? Unless it's a presentation that's like 2 hours. But in a book, you're given a bigger opportunity to play with the dark and the lights. In a speech, you're really focusing on more like the end results, the actual educational component of your soul story. And it's like a big, almost, I hate to use the word hook, but it's a big sort of invite into people saying, hey, I want more. Hey, you need to do this again. Hey, come back and do another one, right? So many entrepreneurs want to become a keynote, and they feel like if they had a book, they would get to be a keynote. But really, be a keynote, share your story along the way. Selling a book is just a cherry on the top, you know? But I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, well, if I had a book, then I would also get to be a public speaker. I just did my 100th keynote, and I mean, I have books on the market. I am a best-selling author. I can sell books in the back of the room if I want. But what's more like satisfying for me is what happens in the intimate conversations after the speech, where it's like, hey, I know somebody where this would be a perfect presentation. Let me introduce you. Okay, so here we get to the benefits. When I first started writing personal essays 4 years ago, I was amazed at how intimate it felt for the masses. So I talk about storytelling from a law of attraction aspect. As an intuitive, I'm very, and I play with energy a lot, right? And a soul story out to the masses is like a magnet for aligned individuals to want to join your tribe. It's like a know, like, and trust factor to the nth degree. Your people will find you, they'll Google you, and your soul story will pop up in the search engine. New opportunities will come your way because that's just the way that the law of attraction works. When you're out speaking, when you're out sharing, and you're doing it from a high vibrational point of view, new things will come. Not just clients, but like new writing opportunities, new speaking opportunities, partners. That's how Kim and I met, just out sharing stories. Kim and I connected that way. The best part about it really, though, is the more you share along the way, the more witnessed and heard you will feel. And even more than that, the more witnessed and heard your soul audience will feel. And they will champion your work like they're your best friends. You know, it really works. Your platform growth. So for those of you who are looking to get published through an agent and a traditional publisher, at this point, they want you to be a saleable asset. They want you to come with an engaging, fairly large audience. So my first publisher is the seventh largest in the country, named Morgan James. Great people, love them to death. They're what's known as an entrepreneur publisher. So it's equal parts self and traditional. I paid them to publish the books, and then they went out and sold it and dealt with the sales and distribution around the country to bookstores. So the reason I get to call myself a best-selling author is because every book that they sold for me ended up in 2,000 bookstores nationwide. At this point, I'm growing my platform. I'm telling more keynotes. I'm sharing more personal stories so that I can go to an agent to say, I'm ready to do this next book because my next book is done. So let me, if you have questions about how this part of it matches, the energy of your book, we can talk about that in a second. But really, the more you're sharing along the way, the more opportunities you have to grow your audience, the more opportunities you have to get as an expert on media in your local markets, to share your expertise, and you will have a bigger audience to sell your book to when it comes out. So Kim and I both have a lot of experience writing. We have a lot of experience moving through the fear and the self-doubt and the resistance to writing. And here are just some points that I picked up along the way. The scarier the story you have deep within you, ready to come out, in my opinion, if you're able to get it in small snippets, if you're able to get it in personal essays and speeches along the way, the bigger the impact it'll have when your book comes out. So when my first book came out in 2011, I had to deliver it out of demand because people saw my story, saw what I was doing, and it was finally like I had to go to a publisher to say, hey, can you sell this for me? And that's why it was a bestseller, because I was following the demand of the people that were following me, right? Facing your fear of being visible is one thing. Facing the fear of sharing your story is another. There's two separate things that happen here. The biggest deflatable thing that can happen for a writer is when we let self-doubt and resistance and fog get in the way, because those pieces will absolutely kill creativity. Being stagnant, there's nothing worse than that for a writer, And I can tell you from experience that if we don't let that soul story come up out of our belly, into our heart, out of our throat, it won't ever go away. That will continue to happen. That is a cycle that you have to move through. So the last thing I want to say before we move into a Q&A, I want to tell you how I started writing. I just want to check the time here. I can't check the time. I can. I have a phone. Okay, we're doing good. So when I first started writing for Huffington Post in 2014, my first story was called I'm a Recovering Burnout. And it wasn't all that good because I had no idea how to write a personal essay at the time, but it was published on a Friday. And by Sunday, I had 300 emails in my inbox from people around the world. So that meant that they saw it on Huffington, they went over to my bio, clicked on my website, and entered this contact form. And my website wasn't very good. I didn't even have a storytelling business. I don't even remember if I had a list, but I was inundated with emails from people around the world. And all they said was, thank you for putting a voice to what I feel. I had no idea this is what it was called. That one of those people was a speaking coordinator for an event in New York City. I was invited, and he read it on Huffington. He invited me to come to New York City several months later to get up on stage in front of several hundred people and turn that story into a speech called My Personal Journey to Happiness, which was going beyond my burnout story and really about how I found happiness from burnout. And this is a picture, after this event happened, I was standing in the lobby and I literally had a line of people the entire 2 hours that party happened. I didn't get to say hi to my friends. I didn't get to say hi to my family. I was asking people to go out and get me water, grab me that dish that just went by because I can't leave this spot. I walked away from New York City with a stack of cards from people who wanted to work with me, and I didn't even have a business yet. So this stuff works, I swear. And now We're going to get into Q&As, but don't take off yet. Kim and I do have a really fun opportunity coming up, and I'm going to stop sharing so Kim and I can talk to you together. And
that was great, Carrie. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
that was just a lot in one. We both just were like, I
know,
and I can't wait to share with them how we're going to offer something similar to this for 6 weeks. That's going to be really deepening the learning curve on all of that we've shared. But I'm curious to hear. I've been answering in the chat box, by the way.
Okay, good.
Lots of great questions. But if anybody has anything live that they want to ask Carrie or I, we've got about 7 or 8 minutes to do that.
Yep. Okay, so let's see. First of all, I can't believe there's someone from my hometown on here. Hi, Jen. Nice to meet you. That's crazy pants. And I'm not really surprised because it's St. Patrick's Day and it's kind of a magical day for me. Okay. So you're answering questions about, do you need a proposal to sell a book now, even small publishers? Okay.
Yeah, I responded to that.
Okay,
there's been some really amazing conversations going on about vulnerability and being scared. I asked out there who's scared of being intimate with the masses. I think that's really one of the biggest hurdles is what is that vow that you've made to yourself to be invisible? And when you write a book and you do a personal story or you even do a personal essay, what you went through, you were forced to really just go from someone that just was a doer to suddenly a messenger. You became a messenger from your own pain point. Yeah. If you hadn't have gone through what you went through, if I hadn't have gone through 10 years of recovery from sexual abuse, I wouldn't have been able to write that book. Yeah. There's no way. So we look at our stories and say, how do we turn them around into powerful stories so that we can inspire the masses?
Yeah.
Really, that's what we're looking to do.
And I like to talk about it from, there's every writing coach has a different sort of saying. Mine is heal your story before you share your story. There's one who's like, share your battle scars, not your wounds, which is very true in both those cases. When we're sharing, a lot of times people, the idea of being vulnerable is attached or kind of linear to this idea that if you share it, you're going to open it up, or it's going to be a trigger for you or somebody else. And here, why I like to talk about the healing aspect of storytelling is because being vulnerable it takes a ton of guts, a ton of courage, a lot of strength to share from your heart. So if the word vulnerable is sitting kind of weird because you're afraid that it's going to open something up, try to move that word into visible, and how there might be a little bit more like anchoring in there for you for that word. You're giving people, when you're sharing your story, you're doing so from the opposite side of the bridge. You've already went through what you went through, you healed it the best you could, and you're sharing your lessons in it so that people who are on the opposite side of that bridge have they have a direction, they have some light, they know where to go. You're on one side of the bridge, like, hey, follow me, I know where to go from here. And you're giving people an opportunity to heal from your side of the story, which is really the most powerful thing any author can do, is to stand in their story in integrity from a place of, I don't even know, on that side of the bridge, saying that I see you, I hear you, I understand what you're going through, I've been through it too, and here's how I got through it. So it can be a little scary, but if you're doing it from the right energy, it's an amazing, amazing healing opportunity for your soul audience.
If I can add one thing on that too, which is interesting, that often when people write books, especially in my program, they'll bump against something like that. And they'll want to do a lot of dumping. Like, oh, I feel I really need to write about my mother right now. And I need to say all these things about my mother. And I'll say to them, I think that's really valid. I think there's something that needs to be healed here, but I want you to do a sidebar essay. And so they'll go, well, what is that? And I'll say, I want you to go write about that, not from what you're going to put in your book, but from really what you're feeling and all of your deepest memories and what you're struggling with. And often from that essay, we'll be able to pull out of it some of the best writing to put back in the book, but it's not the whole dump. And I think that that's what people do. They think, well, I'm just going to dump everything into the book, and they don't have any discernment. And I think the discernment is if we're going to be writing about certain people in our book and our relationships with them, how is that going to help other people? How are we going to be able, like you said, to have enough of a perspective as a writer to be entertaining in a way that's offering a service to the reader? How are we going to serve this reader and have them go, oh my God, like I had that same situation, versus just angry author. You read those books, you're just like, wow, this is just angry author. We don't need necessarily angry author. We definitely need a clever way of telling about the anger, but it's always to direct it to the reader. Serve the reader, serve the reader, serve the reader, which is what we do as authors.
Mm-hmm. So I just want to say that
two messages.
Yeah. So Cassandra, I see
vulnerability is beautiful.
Cassandra, I see that you are stuck at marketing. Let me know if anything that I've shared today is like resonating with you on how to start marketing this book even before you finish it. And then Jasmine, I see that you felt a little bit stuck, so you moved into fantasy, and now you see the importance of finishing your first book and sharing a personal story. Super excited to hear that. And I see that Mary, awesome. If you're looking for an agent publisher, the pitch in San Francisco, I've been to several pitches in my 20 years. That's a cool experience. If you've never had the opportunity to go pitch an agent and you want to get like firsthand knowledge of how to restructure your query letter and how to write a proposal, definitely go check that out. I saw that Kim wrote that proposals aren't scary. They're not scary. They're just definitely intense. Very cool. So are there any other?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, blogging in terms of, Mary, I think blogging and personal essay writing are two very different things. Blogging is, in my opinion, this is my perspective and what I tell clients, blogging is a way to serve your current audience. Personal essay writing is a way to grow your audience. So I actually, it's two different things. Blogs for me are e-blasts, they're social media posts. Personal essay writing are not blogs. You cannot get a blog published by most traditional mainstream media outlets, which is where I like to take my clients. So two very different categories. Blogging is a fabulous way to learn how to get vulnerable and to engage your current. Personal essay writing is how to grow it so that you're attracting people to your list. Lee, on board for vulnerability, the logistical issues of marketing websites, submitting essays, that freaked out. Well, you have to remember, Lee, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I just like, for like 15 minutes, told you everything, very high level. It's not a scary thing. I actually just worked with Rachel yesterday, who was on Kim's presentation. We just went through this yesterday and are getting her out. And it can literally happen in a matter
She's writing a personal essay.
Yes.
Yeah.
It can literally happen in a matter of a day.
Yeah, it's a perfect mix.
All right, so we want to share, to just keep with time here. Are you okay? Is everyone okay? Do you have any other questions about what either Kim and I have said today? Let us know. I am going to move back into sharing. Here it is. Okay, so what Kim and I created, I think you are really going to love. We are calling it From Head to Heart. Clear the fog of your resistance. It feels so good, you guys. We're so excited for this. Okay, so it is a 6-week program. We're launching it April 9th. For 2 hours a week, we're going to get together as a tribe, and we are going to dig into the fog and dig into the resistance. On a weekly basis, we're going to send you writing assignments and templates to really help you recognize where that fear, that fog, that resistance is coming from, and move you from that side of the bridge to the other, so that you're leaving this program feeling completely confident that this is your time, that this is the book, that you have no doubt in your mind, this is why you're here. The private Facebook group that you'll be in we'll just give you an opportunity to connect with your soul sisters going through this experience with you when we don't have our Zoom calls. And then the purpose of it really is so that you have 2 intuitive writing coaches on your side for 6 solid weeks, getting you from one side of the bridge to the other so that you leave with clear, concrete goals, clarity, and direction. So $997 is the price and the investment opportunity for you. From Head to Heart, Clear the Fog of Your Resistance. We created an early bird bonus for you. It will keep it open for the weekend, so we'll end it tomorrow night, March 18th, Sunday at midnight Pacific.
We'll end the early bird tomorrow night, but it'll be open till I think we said April 5th.
Yes, the cart will be open, but the early bird bonus for the weekend is you're getting a call with me one-on-one in those 6 weeks and a call with Kim one-on-one in those 6 weeks.
Yeah, so that's really to take what you're doing in the 6 weeks and go to like an even deeper level with our personalized coaching, which really we only offer in our private programs.
Yes. Yeah. So this is the link if you're interested.
And this will go out in the replay, so they'll have it. We can put it in the chat for you right now, which makes it easy for you to click on it. It's a really simple enrollment if you're technologically challenged, which you probably aren't because you're on Zoom, which is great, which for some people is like, it's going to be really easy to click on it and sign up. Carrie offered our email addresses. You can email us with any questions about the program or details on it. We like to see who our group is, and we like to grow as we go with our programs. It's really exciting. We have a really good idea of what we're going to bring in value, always over delivering to the table. But we also want to grow with the group. So we'll be able to offer the details of what we'll be doing overall with the program, but we also are going to have some exciting things that come just from the energy too.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in the presentation, Kim and I are sending our emails out. So if you don't feel like you can book right now this weekend, if you are literally in that fear and hesitation resistance space and you can't get even into that, send us emails. We're happy to get on the phone and kind of talk it out, because again, that is what we do. We work with dozens and dozens of women a year, moving them through this piece. That's kind of what we do. So you have this weekend to get the early bird. If you need to talk about it, please send us messages. And this replay will go out later on this afternoon. And that is it. Do you have any other questions, anyone?
That's it. This is so amazing. I'm so impressed. We had 13 people. We had many people say that they want to get the replay because of scheduling. And I just feel like there's just this collective energy that's come from this call of everybody, taking time out of their lives, taking time out of their busy schedules, coming forward and saying, it's my turn and it's my time to make a difference and to be creative and have a voice. And I'm honored and moved, by this whole process. And, it's an incredible time for us as women to be speaking up, and it's an incredible time for us to have voices. So congratulations on all of you for being here today.
Yes, thank you so much. We are super excited that you did do this. And for those watching the replay on the over your weekend, or if you're on the opposite side of the world and it's in the middle of the night for you, and if you have questions, please let us know. Kim and I are available. This program, From Head to Heart, again, is open now, and we're holding space for about 20 women, and we will close it April 5th, starting April 9th.
That's right. We're only taking 20, right? Yeah. We're only taking 20 women, right? Because more than that would be hard for us to serve. Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree. Yes, it's the new moon. Enjoy the new moon.
So great.
Let's get woo-woo. Let's get woo-woo for like a second. The moon. New
moon on St. Patrick's Day. Beautiful. Woo. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your Saturday.
Take care. Bye-bye.